We all have dreams. Dream home renovations, dream vacations, or sending our kids to their dream colleges. But finding straightforward ways to turn those dreams into realistic goals, that's where things get tricky. Merrill understands that. That's why, with a dedicated Merrill advisor, you get a personalized plan and a clear path forward. And having the bull at your back helps your whole financial life move with you. So when your plans change, Merrill is with you every step of the way. Go to ml.com/bullish to learn more. Merrill, a Bank of America company. What would you like the power to do? Investing involves risk. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner & Smith Incorporated, registered broker-dealer, registered investment advisor, member SIPC.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states.
Ready to pop the question? The jewelers at BlueNile.com have got sparkle down to a science with beautiful lab-grown diamonds worthy of your most brilliant moments. Their lab-grown diamonds are independently graded and guaranteed identical to natural diamonds, and they're ready to ship to your door. Go to BlueNile.com and use promo code LISTEN to get $50 off your purchase of $500 or more. That's code LISTEN at BlueNile.com for $50 off. BlueNile.com, code LISTEN.
Super Real.
Hey, I'm Julian Morgans, and you're listening to What It Was Like, the show that asks people who have lived through big, dramatic events what it was like. A few weeks ago, I was reminded of this wild story unfolding in New Zealand. The story is that a man named Tom Phillips has been missing with his 3 kids for almost 3 years, and they've been living in the forest in this remote northwestern part of the Northern Island. It all started in 2021 as a much more mundane family separation story. Basically, Tom took the kids, who were aged 8, 6, and 5, from his estranged wife and disappeared into the bush. Not a really nice thing to do, and not that common, but at that stage it wasn't really a story that got international attention. But they haven't been found since, despite extensive searching by the New Zealand police. But we know they're still out there because there's been fleeting sightings of them, mostly on CCTV. And last year, the whole thing got ratcheted up when Tom, one of the kids, robbed a bank. More on that later. Anyway, a couple of weeks ago, after about a year of silence, the family reappeared again. Some pig hunters filmed them all hiking up a hill together. And when this happened, I was like, oh, that's right. This thing, this story, this is still happening. And I was thinking, well, all right, we've got to do an episode on this. And first of all, because I just think it's miraculous that actually a dad and 3 kids have managed to disappear. Not many people can do that anymore. Most people on the run get picked up pretty quickly. So I'm just kind of curious, where are they? But the other thing is that this is a little family living in isolation in the wilderness, and I'm really curious about what that's like for the kids. I mean, first of all, I hope they're okay. Their dad seems pretty unhinged, so I hope they're being looked after. But I think there's a part of me that, as a kid, would have quite liked to live in a forest. Live out some kind of Jungle Book fantasy. So I think that captures my imagination too. And unfortunately, I can't talk to the kids because they live in a forest. So we're going to do the next best thing. And I'm going to talk to a journalist who's been covering the story the longest and the hardest. His name's Tony Wall, and he's been a journalist a long time. And if there's such a thing as an expert on the Tom Phillips missing family case, then Tony Wall is the guy. Tony's going to get us up to speed on where the story is at right now. But he's also going to talk about his experience of trying to talk with the families that are probably helping Tom. It's speculated that Tom can't do this alone. There's probably a couple of locals who are giving him a hand, giving him food, shelter when needed, that kind of thing. And as you'll hear, these people haven't been very happy about Tony showing up on their doorstep and asking big questions. He's also going to give us the inside scoop on the bank robbery and answer a few basic questions like, why can't we find this family? So let's get into it. Here is Tony Wall. Hello, Tony. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining me. So take me back to the moment when this case, the Tom Phillips case, came across your desk. How did this happen?
Well, it all started in late 2021. I think it was about September, when we got word that a pickup truck had been found down on the beach at a place called Maricopa, which nobody had really heard of before then. It's a beachside settlement in Waikato, which is a couple of hours south of Auckland.
Okay.
And it's a very remote beach, windswept, rough, rugged, black sand. And what we would call a ute. Do you call them utes in Australia?
Yeah, I think we call them utes. Like in America, you'd call it like a pickup.
That's why I said pickup before, but yeah, it's more like a ute. And it was part facing the waves, facing the water, close to the waterline. And so water was kind of coming in all around it. Keys were in there and there was no sign of any life. So quite a mystery, really, to start with. And police announced that Tom Phillips and his children were in that vehicle or had been in that vehicle, and they were concerned for their safety and where they were.
Okay. Were you in the area at the time, or was this a sort of personal thing at this moment, or was it all just kind of distant and like total strangers and you had no idea?
Yeah, I had no idea. I live in Tauranga, which is a city on the east coast of the North Island. It's in a straight line almost across the other side of the North Island. It's about a 3-hour drive from Maricopa. And I'd never really heard of it. There's quite a well-known tourist attraction nearby called the Waitomo Caves, which is one of the more popular tourist attractions in the North Island. It's underground caves and glowworms and boat rides and stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really cool actually. And so I knew that, but nobody ever sort of goes any further down that road. And if you keep going for another hour, you come to the coast and you go through some really, really remote country and bush, and it's quite spectacular, really. So I was sent out there along with lots of other reporters, of course, just to sort of find out what was going on.
Okay. So take me through it. You get there and what happens?
Well, the general feeling then was that something terrible had happened, like perhaps he'd been swept away, him and the kids, by a rogue wave. Perhaps it was a suicide or murder-suicide where he'd walked into the water with his kids. No bodies obviously had been found. So everyone was fearing the worst, although the other theory or scenario was that they could be in the bush somewhere. So a real mystery, really, and everyone was just going around knocking on doors, talking to everybody in this little hamlet of Maricopa, it's kind of mainly batches and holiday homes. People go there on weekends for fishing trips, that kind of thing. So there's not that many people around, to be honest. So we were sort of struggling a bit, really, to be honest, to find anybody to comment for the story. And all we really knew about Tom Phillips was that he grew up on the family farm about 5 kilometres inland from there, on a large, steep hill country farm, and that his parents still lived there, and that he himself had been living with the children in a town called Uturahanga, which is the main sort of nearest sizable town. It's about an hour's drive away.
Okay, and obviously there's kids involved. I assume that there's a mother somewhere. What's the sort of the family story here?
Yeah, so we didn't know a lot at that time what the family situation was, but it soon became clear that there was a bit of a custody battle going on, and that the father, Tom, had custody of the kids and the mother didn't. And I think we found out reasonably early on that he'd been homeschooling them.
Okay.
And so, yeah, that was the situation. But the mother was out there sort of looking as well. Everybody was joining in the search for them.
Yeah. I mean, there's enough cases where the dad, these sort of like tragic domestic violence, murder-suicide situations, they're not uncommon.
Yeah, and I guess that's why in the absence of any firm information, your mind starts, as journalists, of course, we start speculating, and that was one of the scenarios.
Yeah, okay. So it didn't quite unfold that way, though. What happened?
Well, yeah, suddenly, 2 weeks later, they turned up out of the blue. Turned up at the family farm. As I say, it's probably 5 kilometres from the beach inland. Just rocked up there. Everyone was well. Kids were well. Tom was well. they weren't talking to the media. They're very media shy, really, the family. So we didn't get to go and speak to Tom or anything like that. But he was arrested and charged with wasting police time because huge amounts of police resources were used to try and find them when they were missing. And it became pretty evident early on of him being charged with wasting police time that he'd deliberately sort of staged the scene to make it look like perhaps they'd come, met with something had become of them bad, that they'd died perhaps, and so they'd staged it. It's charged with wasting police time.
Yeah, fair enough. I guess particularly when it really just amounted to a 2-week holiday in the bush.
Exactly.
What did, because I understand that Tom basically just blew it off as, I just needed to get out in the bush and clear my mind. I think this was the quote.
Well, I don't think he was ever spoken to by any media. I don't think anyone ever really spoke to him. I don't think anyone ever really knew why or what he was up to. But
Okay.
he appeared in court, I think, once and was remanded on bail. And then he was due to appear again, but didn't appear. And that's when things got even more mysterious.
Okay. Well, don't leave me hanging. What happened next?
Yes, so he doesn't appear in court the second time. And a warrant's issued, which is just standard procedure that, the judge issues a warrant for the person's arrest for not appearing. And then it becomes clear from the family that a missing persons thing has been put out again, and he's gone bush again with the kids again. So that was literally only sort of a few months after the first disappearance, or maybe even a couple of months. It was quite a short period of time. And so he's back in the bush again. We're back to square one. And everyone's like, what? Well, not this again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the poor old media have to traipse back out there again, 3-hour drive.
Yeah. And I guess when you say poor old media, I guess you're referring to yourself. You had to make the drive out there again.
Well, I was kind of thinking, hoping really, I guess you'd say that was the end of it. Because, as much as I like going out to interesting little communities, I don't like having to go out there too much if I can avoid it. It's quite a drive. Like the hour drive from Waitomo Caves to the coast is really, really windy, and you get a bit car sick, to be honest.
Yeah.
And
it sounds remote. It sounds like full-on Lord of the Rings
It
country.
is. It's one of the more remote corners of New Zealand, yeah.
Okay. But the twist here is that they don't re-emerge. They just sort of stay missing.
They stay missing. So that was late 2021, early 2022. So that went on all that year. And then 2023, there were some quite stunning twists that came out at that point. First of all, there's a sighting of Tom at a Bunnings warehouse in Hamilton, the closest nearest large city. And he's caught on CCTV in disguise. He's sort of got a beanie on and some glasses and a mask, like a sort of surgical mask.
Yep.
And he's also stuffed something down his top to make him look fatter than he really is. It was not the most brilliant of disguises. And the vehicle that he was in was a ute with lots of stuff on the back of it. And so that was all put out in the media. Images of him and the ute were put out in the media. And the first sighting, which sort of every time something like this happens, every time there's a development, the media gets really excited and there's a lot more headlines and there's a burst of publicity, and then things will go quiet again for a few weeks or months.
Yeah.
So that was a good one, though, because that was like, well, he's obviously coming out, he's emerging, he's not staying in the bush the whole time. It was said that the ute had been stolen, the one that he was using, but I got wind of the fact that through sources that actually it was a mate of his that he'd taken the ute. I'm still a little unsure whether he'd taken the ute or stolen the ute, but either way, it was his mate's.
Okay.
Yeah. And no other media had reported that, so that was a bit of a scoop for me. So I found out the name of the mate and where he lived. And that's when I went there and had my own little adventure.
Okay. Tell me about the adventure.
So, as I say, I got wind of who the owner of this ute was, and I went to this property. It was in that same sort of general area, and it was a farm property on top of a hill, quite a steep hill that you could sort of see in the distance from the road. And I walked up this long, steep gravel driveway during the day to knock on the door, no one home. Did that 2 or 3 times, no one home, no one home. Finally, just getting on dusk. It was winter, so it was getting dark at about just before 6 p.m.
Yeah, cold.
Cold, dark. I was walking up the drive because I didn't feel confident driving up. It was quite a steep drive with potholes, and there was nowhere to turn around up the top either, and I sort of didn't know what kind of reception I was going to get. Anyway, I finally got up there, and there's a woman who I took to be his wife, standing there, obviously not happy to see me. Explained who I was and what I was there for. I mentioned the Phillips family, Tom Phillips, and she just told me with no uncertain terms to leave, which I did straight away.
Always. I don't know about you, but I've done a few of these too. You know, you go to stand around someone's house for a while just as a journalist and hope they get home, and you never received well. I've never received a smile.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, when they ask you to leave, you've just got to leave. There's no, I might have tried to keep her talking for 5 seconds, but it was pretty clear she didn't want to bar me. So off I went down the hill. I had another name of a friend of this guy who I was looking for, who lived about 5 k's further down the road. Yep. So I jumped in my car and drove there, pulled up his driveway, and I kind of got a pretty frosty reception from him and his wife as well. But they didn't tell me to leave, so I tried to keep them talking, and eventually they calmed down a bit and asked me to sit down, and he was drinking a beer, and I was asking him about Tom. He obviously knew Tom, but he was sort of playing cat and mouse with me a little bit about what he knew or didn't know, and we were chatting away. I must have been there a good sort of 20 minutes probably, and I could see that his wife or partner was on the phone in the background ringing someone and talking to someone, and I think now in hindsight that she was on the phone to the first guy I was trying to get hold of up the road to say, hey, we've got this journalist here. Quick, get here now. We've got this journalist here. That's what I think was going on. Fortunately for me, I didn't stick around. I think if I'd stuck around longer when the others turned up, I would have been in big trouble.
Big trouble in what sense?
In the sense that I was by myself. It was after dark now. I was outside of my car, and I just would have had no protection. I would have been basically a sitting duck.
You think that'd have beaten you up, or
that's
worse?
The worst. I don't think worse. I don't think they would have done anything worse, but it would have been very in your face, a lot of screaming and yelling, and pretty scary. Like you just don't know. Probably the worst case scenario, probably a punch on the nose, I guess.
Sure. Is this it's a pretty rough subculture out there? I mean,
it's a very sort of hardy people of the land, hardy farming folk. They don't take kindly to city people like reporters coming and invading their space like this, and very, very much a different kind of scenario than I'm used to, I guess. So I jumped in my car and just drove down this driveway. And as I was coming out of the driveway, I then started driving back the other way, back towards the other guy's house that I'd first gone to. 2 vehicles came out of nowhere, really, out of the dark. And one overtook me at speed and slowed right down. And then the other one came right up behind me and they boxed me in, yeah. So, I probably, if I'd tried, I might have been able to escape, but I just thought I didn't want to get involved in a high-speed chase. So I just pulled over and made sure the doors were locked, and they pulled over too and came up to the car, and it was all on for young and old.
What happened?
So basically the main guy, the guy I'd been trying to get hold of, who I'd been told was a very good mate, if not the best mate of Tom Phillips, was furious, absolutely furious that I'd been going to his house after dark, scaring his wife and kids, and all of this. And I was just saying, mate, it's only 6 o'clock at night. I was just trying to ask some questions. I'm just a reporter. I was trying to talk sense, but he just didn't want to hear it. Yeah. And he was yelling and screaming and F this and see this and every profanity you could imagine, telling me, threatening me as well, basically threatening, it felt very threatening and intimidating. I was recording it all, as any good reporter would, because part of me was quite scared. The other part was like, well, this is going to be good copy.
Totally.
Yeah.
This is cool. Keep going.
Yeah. So just I was a bit worried. I didn't know how I'm going to get out of the situation because I'm still boxed in. He's standing right by the door. His mate's right behind him. Didn't seem to have any weapons or anything like that, so it wasn't that sort of situation. But I was sort of yelling back at him through the window questions that I could. And at one point I said, "Have you been helping Tom?" And that just set him right off. He got really angry with that and tried to open the door of the car. Thankfully, the car was, of course, locked, so he wasn't able to get in because I think at that point, if he had got in, who knows what he probably would have thumped me, I think.
Yeah, you sound pretty relaxed about all this. This sounds like an incredibly tense situation to me.
Yeah, it was tense, but I guess I felt pretty secure. Like I'm inside a locked car, right? So, he's going to have to do something pretty radical to get to me. He's going to have to smash the car window, basically. And I didn't think he'd be quite that crazy. Well, I sort of hope not. My heart was beating. There's no doubt about that. The pulse was racing. But as I say, it could have been a lot worse. Like just a few minutes before that, I was outside of the car, and if he'd rocked up at that point down the driveway of his mate, he would have had me sort of unprotected.
Yeah. I love the way that you're still asking questions.
Yeah, exactly. Because there was that huge part of my journalistic brain that was saying, "Ask him if he's been helping." And, this is being recorded. It's going to be great copy for later sort of thing. So, yeah. And as I say, I sort of felt reasonably secure inside the car. Nothing like that had ever happened before to me, though, in my career. So I was sort of a little bit unsure as how it might all play out. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, did you get any useful answers from this situation?
No useful answers. Just basically the telling off that I was the big telling off, and I was trying to sort of calm him down a bit and sort of say, "Okay, mate, yeah, righto. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare your wife." And trying to calm him down. Eventually, he just realised that unless he took it to the next level, nothing was going to come of it. He's going to have to let me go. And then he said something like, "Oh, well, you're fucking lucky we're letting you go."
Damn.
Yeah. You think you can come out here to my turf and my territory and look around, asking you freaking questions? And he was going on about the cops as well. He was saying the pig shits, calling them pig shits.
Yeah, cute.
Yeah, very cute.
I mean, this is wild speculation on my half, but it seems to me that if he's getting so upset when you ask, "Are you helping Tom?" then he's definitely helping Tom.
I could not possibly speculate. I mean, there's a chance that there's definitely, there had been a sighting of Tom on his property too,
right.
earlier on. So yeah, I mean, you put two and two together, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that people have been talking about in the media for a while. How is a family of four just living entirely off the land out in the bush? There's been a lot of speculation that someone's helping them.
Yeah, the police have been pretty open about that. They've said, look, he's definitely getting help, probably from more than one person too, like probably quite a network. And I've since just recently been back out again this weekend, just gone and doing a bit of a story on why has he got so many supporters. And basically just about every person I asked said, good on him, leave him alone. He's giving his kids a big adventure. So there's plenty of people.
Is an interesting take on parenting.
Yep.
These kids haven't been to school in years, but hey, they're having a hell of an adventure.
Yeah, and so there's lots of people out there that think that's fine, that, he's learning, he's teaching them how to live off the land and catch animals and survive.
Is there a bit of a reclusive prepper vibe out there?
Yeah, I think a little bit with some people. Obviously you can't, paint them all with the same brush, but there's quite a few sort of anti-vaxxers out there too, anti-COVID vax people.
Yeah.
And in fact, one of the people that I interviewed just this weekend just gone had big signs out the front, anti-vaccine signs, anti-government signs, and they were very, very big supporter of Tom. So I think there's a bit of that vibe going.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a sort of a misogynistic streak going through it. A lot of people sort of blame the mother. He's doing this for his kids and that the mother's not a good mother, and yeah.
Okay, yeah, right. I always see this kind of sentiment on Facebook, just various estranged dads complaining about how the courts are all on the side of the mother, and just a dad can't just
Yeah, very much so.
can't beat up his wife anymore like the good old days and have the kids, it's just all unfair.
Yeah, people just sort of blame the mother, and I just think, what's it got to do with anything? I mean, there's family courts for this kind of thing. You don't take your kids into the bush for 3 years.
Yeah, seriously. Okay, all right. So let's get back to the timeline here. So you escape with your windscreen intact, and then what happens?
Well, I got back to the main town of Aotearoa, which wasn't too far from where I was, and just breathed a bit of a sigh of relief, really, and spoke to my boss, let him know what had happened. I think they said I could lay a complaint with the police if I wanted to, because it could sort of border on, threatening behaviour, but decided not to, just because in the end he calmed down and let me go. So, not much of a crime there, really.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And It's always better to just, I think, not and take.
This, yeah, absolutely. And this was in 2022, is that right?
No, last year. Yeah, 2023, August.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then the story got, for me, even crazier is that not too long after that, the police announced that there was now a warrant for Tom Phillips for bank robbery. So there'd been a bank robbery in another small town nearby called Tikawiti in May that year, and at that point it was just an unknown offenders, basically, and there'd been a few stories in the media about this bank robbery where the offenders had run off down the street with cash falling out of their pocket and people picking it up and handing it back to them. And a shot had been fired as well. And basically the police announced that they believed Tom Phillips was the offender, and that they released a picture of a motorbike, the getaway vehicle, with what looked like a child on the back.
Oh my God.
So it looks like he's taken his kid on a bank robbery.
That's crazy behavior.
Yeah, that is out there. That's out the gate.
Yeah.
And I've just been looking back on some of those stories from the time, and one of the witnesses we spoke to earlier at the time of the robbery said that it appeared that it was a young girl, one of them was a young girl, and she handed back some of the cash they'd dropped, and the girl snatched it, and as she was snatching it, she noticed the girl had a gun. So not only did Tom have a gun that was fired, but the girl had a gun.
Okay, so this has turned in from a fairly cute family, a very strange family camping trip into just full-on criminal behavior with guns.
Allegedly. Yeah, we have to say allegedly, because that's the other thing. A lot of people in the area don't believe it. They don't believe he's got anything to do with it. They say, no, we know who did that robbery. It wasn't them. And they believe it's just the police using it as a, excuse to ramp things up and bring him in.
Okay. I mean, does he need cash if he's living off the land? That's a lot of cash for a man who apparently doesn't need the system anymore.
Yeah, well, going back through the timeline, it appears that he went to Bunnings warehouse around that same time. So it's thought that perhaps he needed the cash to buy some supplies from Bunnings. He bought a whole lot of water bottles and tanks and stuff. So perhaps needed some cash for supplies to set himself up.
Wow. He's really upping the ante, isn't he?
Yeah, that's just really upping the ante. It's crazy. I can't really get my head around it, to be honest. I mean, and then there was another incident. That wasn't the end of it. There was an attempted break-in of a store in a town even further south, a smaller town called Pew Pew, and basically, there was CCTV footage of what police say was Tom Phillips and a kid again. We believe it's the eldest daughter, Jada. They attempted to put the CCTV cameras out of action and then break into this general store. Again, probably just for supplies. But they were unsuccessful, and then they escaped on a four-wheeler farm motorbike. So which would have meant they would have had to drive down a busy highway on this four-wheeler.
Wow, okay. That's pretty hairy.
Yeah, pretty hairy. Exactly. And so that was more excitement. And so that was all sort of mid to late last year.
Yeah.
And things sort of went quiet again for quite some time. And it's funny, you sort of, obviously you move on to other stories as a journalist, you forget about it for a while, and then something else happens, bang, you're back into it again.
Hey, we're just going to stop here for a quick ad break, but stick around. We'll be right back with more What It Was Like.
The holiday season is now approaching, but at BlueNile.com, there's always something to celebrate. Whether you're looking for everyday elegance to elevate a casual outfit or a statement piece worthy of your biggest holiday looks, Blue Nile brings sparkle to any occasion. With some of the highest quality standards in the industry and jewelry experts on hand to answer any questions, you can be confident in your purchase. Right now, celebrate the season with 30% off at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
We all have dreams. Dream home renovations, dream vacations, or sending our kids to their dream colleges. But finding straightforward ways to turn those dreams into realistic goals, that's where things get tricky. Merrill understands that. That's why, with a dedicated Merrill advisor, you get a personalized plan and a clear path forward. And having the bull at your back helps your whole financial life move with you. So when your plans change, Merrill is with you every step of the way. Go to ml.com/bullish to learn more. Merrill, a Bank of America company. What would you like the power to do? Investing involves risk. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner & Smith Incorporated, registered broker-dealer, registered investment advisor, member SIPC.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
A little self-care can go a long way, especially amidst the hustle and bustle of the holidays. That's where Vegamore comes in. Trusted by millions, Vegamore is all about giving your hair the love and care it deserves. With their vegan and cruelty-free formulas, you can nourish and revitalize your strands while indulging in some much-needed pampering. Because let's face it, who couldn't use a bit more me time this time of year? Go to vegamore.com/ACAST, code ACAST. That's vegamor.com/ACAST, code ACAST.
What's the most recent development?
So, the most recent development. Two 16-year-old boys pig hunting on their grandfather's farm north of Maricopa. It's a large farm, probably not by Australian standards, but by New Zealand standards. Were pig hunting, and they saw these 4 camouflage figures coming towards them, wearing camouflage gear and just walking across the open farm paddock near the bush, but in the open, and started videoing them. And basically alerted police, rang 111. Police raced out there and came to the conclusion, having studied the video, that, yep, this is Tom and the kids. So it's the first video ever of them all together, because there's been these CCTV images of Tom and one of the kids, but never live moving images of the whole family.
Okay.
So that was quite amazing, and that's taken the story to a whole new level. I think it's gone sort of global since then. It's amazing how just a little bit of grainy footage from a phone can elevate things, and it makes it real. So there they are. They really are living in the bush, rough, and it was almost like I've been joking that it was almost like a Sasquatch or Yeti sighting.
Yeah,
oh my God,
yeah.
they're real.
Yeah. I mean, it's this footage that really sparked my interest, because you can see that they're kids, and the body language, the way that they kind of move, you can somehow see that they've been living in the forest for 3 years. They've got a at-home kind of slouch. They sort of move around the trees and through the bush. It's got that kind of feel to it.
Sort of just trudging along with this, but deliberately knowing where they're going. But it's quite remarkable. I mean, that just took things to a whole new level. So of course I had to jump in the car and drive back out there again, and I managed to get a bit of an exclusive with the boys who had taken the footage.
Okay.
And they sort of revealed what was said, which wasn't a hell of a lot, but they...
What was said?
Well, one of the hunters said, "Hey, this is private land, don't you?" And the eldest girl said, "Yeah, duh." And she said, "Well, who knows you're here?" And the girl goes, "Just you guys." And that was it. And they kept walking.
Wow. Okay. Would the I mean, I guess they're older now. You know, these kids are on the oldest daughter, she's on the verge of adolescence, I guess.
Yeah, it should be 11 or 12 for now. And the youngest, I think, is now 8 or 9. I lost track a little bit of the ages. I don't have the dates of birth, so I can't actually tell you precisely.
Yeah. If they ever get intercepted and, returned to their mother, they'll require probably a bit of deprogramming. I imagine that there's a bit of indoctrination that's happened out there in the bush.
Absolutely. I mean, it'll be a whole different life for them. They've missed out on a lot. And it's there's family court issues at play. It's not a simple case of them being returned to the mother. There'll be family court hearings, and the National Child Protection Agency will probably get involved as to where they end up going. A lot. How's this going to end is the big question.
Yeah. Did these kids, the pig hunters, did they see these 4 figures tramping up the hill and go, oh, that's Tom Phillips and his missing kids? Or were they just sort of like, intruders?
No, they thought they were intruders or poachers, poaching animals. Mainly, the main hunting out there would be deer and pigs.
Got it.
And they just initially thought they were poachers. That's why they sort of said, who knows you're here? This is property right. But then as they sort of walked off, they thought, hang on, there's that missing guy and his 3 kids. They're starting to put 2 and 2 together, and the young fella rang his grandfather. And actually, it's funny because it's very much a non-cell phone coverage area, but where they were was right at the very, very top of their property near a trig station, and they had a little bit of cell phone coverage. So he was able to actually send his grandfather the footage. And his grandfather looked at the footage and went, yeah, that's them. That's definitely Tom Phillips. And so he said, ring 111. So the kid rang 111.
Amazing. I mean, I understand there was actually a reward for any information about it. $80,000, is that right?
Yeah, and it was a bit of a strange, because I'd done a few stories questioning the police tactics and strategies around the whole thing, why they put up a reward. And then a few months later they put up an $80,000 reward, but it was only for a very short time. I think it was 2 weeks. And their attitude was we're not putting this out there forever. You've got one chance. If you want to grab the cash, here's your chance, kind of thing. I'm not quite sure what the strategy is behind that, but by the time of the sighting, the reward was no longer on the table anyway.
Damn. Those 16-year-olds.
Yeah,
they missed out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so the big question here for me is, like, why can't we find these people? New Zealand's not that big, in my humble opinion. Why can't we just fly a couple of helicopters over the top and spot them?
Yeah, and that's what everyone says and everyone wants to know. But it's hard to explain, but it is very, very dense, rugged country, like just thick native bush, huge area to cover, thousands and thousands of hectares. And there's different sort of bush block areas too. So, he could be in one area and then within a day they could be in another area. And it's just so remote. It takes the police quite a time to get there. Like when there was this sighting, I think it took police an hour or 2 just to get there. And by that stage they could be miles away, Yeah. And it was dark too. Like a lot of people said, hang on, you've got this video footage now. You know exactly where they were. Why couldn't they have gone and caught them? But the police, it's a dangerous situation. You've got the police dealing with a guy who is possibly mentally unstable, as we discussed with the bank robbery. And he's got a gun. He was carrying a gun in the footage. You've got 3 children involved whose lives are, possibly in danger here. And so they don't want to go rushing in. They've got to have a plan. They couldn't have just gone rushing in with dogs and so on. And so they left it till the next morning, till daylight, to commence the search, which I think in hindsight probably they had to do that just for the safety of the children and everyone else.
Yeah, fair enough.
So by the time they got out there in the morning, they would have been long gone. It could have been anywhere. I don't fully understand whether thermal imaging equipment is viable. I mean, there's lots of caves and stuff in the area too that they could hide out in. Helicopters can only fly for so long and cover so much area.
Yeah.
As well, So
yeah, absolutely.
they're kind of relying on somebody dobbing them in and tipping off the police saying, oh, no, they are. They're at this such and such a house right now, sort of thing. Because that's the other thing, is that I don't believe they're in the bush the whole time. I think they're coming and going from buildings, outbuildings, sheds, barns, people's houses perhaps, and so I think what it might take would be if they're staying at someone's farm, that somebody would tip off the police and say they're here right now.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to get them if they're in the bush.
Yeah, it sounds really hard, especially if there's all these caves out there. That sounds really tricky. I mean, if you had to guess, if you put down a bit of a little wager, how do you think this will end?
Oh, God. I hate to think in some ways because we've had cases like this that have ended badly here and around the world, where the person is so caught up in their own mind of what they're doing is the right thing or whatever, that, it ends badly with a standoff or a shootout of some kind. I just hope the kids, that the kids are okay, and that he thinks of his kids first and foremost. I mean, the ultimate would be if he did what he did last time, just turn up at the family farm again, turn himself in. But now that he's committed a serious crime that carries a 14-year jail term, he's got no incentive to come in, has he? Because he's going straight to jail probably. I'll tell you, he will definitely be remanded in custody pending trial. There's obviously no guarantee he'd be found guilty at trial, but he'd be in prison for several months at least.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, he's really painted himself into a corner.
He has.
2 years ago, it would have been okay. You could probably just slide back into society and, there'll be some stern words, but it would have been okay-ish.
Exactly.
But now he's in deep shit.
Yeah, he is. And, he's painted that for himself. He's put himself in that position. He's got no one to blame but himself. And, I can't believe the people that are saying, leave him alone. He's just given them a good experience. He loves his kids. He's putting his kids in danger, This is serious stuff here. And, I think it's outrageous myself.
Yeah. How's the mother been handling this?
Was very quiet for the first sort of 2.5, 3 years of all of this. Never really seen in the media, which you might see the odd quote from her here and there, but not very much avoiding media coverage. I've been in contact with her the whole time, just over Facebook Messenger, and occasionally we'd chat. But just recently after the sighting, the video, she did a TV interview where she came out, and it was quite a lengthy 30-minute long TV interview, just basically talking about the whole thing and what a toll it's taken. And so that was brave of her, because all the online keyboard warriors that are having a go at her, that's been the main reason why she's stayed out of the limelight, to avoid all the people with opinions and keyboards out there.
Yeah.
And the critics who trying to say she's a bad mother and so on.
And what's I'm curious. I'm interested in this story because, it combines a couple of different stories all in one. You've got a bit of a hermit story. You've got a bit of a bank robber on the loose story. A few interesting pieces. But I was curious about your take on, most New Zealand stories don't go globally viral like this one. What is it that you think is just getting people worked up?
I think people are fascinated by any case where somebody disappears, and I've thought about it quite a bit. And in this day and age, with our surveillance society that we live in, and there's cameras everywhere, and it's pretty hard to avoid notice and to avoid the police on anything. We've had cases here before where there's been a murder and someone's sort of gone bush and they've been caught within days. And and normally that's the case. But this is a guy who's managed to avoid them for 3 years. It's like, it's just unbelievable. And I think, that man against wild, man against police, man against society type sort of story, I guess, surviving in the bush with your kids, it just captures people's imagination. It's something a bit different in this day and age. People still can't quite understand how they haven't been caught yet.
Yeah, it blows my mind. Every time, even just when I'm watching Cops, that sort of like 90s TV show, as soon as someone gets out of the car and tries to make a run for it through the forest, they're screwed. It's all over in minutes.
Yeah.
And this is like a really long form version of that. And somehow he's getting away with it.
Yeah. You can only do it with the help of people, right? So this idea that he might be just camped in the bush the whole time and using his wits and survival skills, it's not quite that. Like, there's definitely a network of friends and supporters in the area that are helping him to evade capture in this way. But then you'd think, police intelligence networks or sources would come to the fore there, and they'd get wind of who these people are that are helping him, and, use intelligence policing in that way. So the cops have been taking a bit of flack for the fact that they haven't been able to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting to me that it sounds like you got pretty close then. Upon reflection, that evening when you were getting yelled at with your car all locked, it sounds to me like those guys, they're probably helping.
I think they were then. Whether they are still, I'm not sure. I think that particular man and his wife are probably well and truly sick of Tom Phillips and all the attention and heat it's brought down on them. Yeah. And it would be a bit silly for them to still be helping him now, because the cops know about them, and who knows, they might be keeping tabs on them anyway. So I think they were definitely helping at one point, but probably not so much now.
Yeah. Okay.
But then we don't know how many others like them out there that there could be out there. Friends that share his views and want to help him out.
Yeah. Have your friends and family come to know of you as the guy to turn to whenever they want an update on their story? They'll text you.
Yeah. But people quite often want to know what the. Unfortunately, I'm probably as much in the dark as anyone. Of course, I've got no idea where he is right now. But it's funny how many people speculate, and everyone thinks they have an idea of where he might be or who's helping, and so you're constantly getting tips that go nowhere.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, last thing I'm wondering is what do you want listeners to know about this case? What do you feel like you've established personally, perhaps emotionally, that you'd like others to know about?
Well, I mean, my personal sort of take on it, and this is just purely my personal opinion, but I just hate the way there's so much support for him as a man, and men are hard done by the family courts, and the bad mother, it's all her fault. She's just trying to protect the kids from her, and it's like, piss off. I don't know. I just that really angers me. We don't know the full story. We don't know anything about the full story of this. We know there's a custody battle going on, but as far as I'm concerned, Tom Phillips is the only one who's broken the law and put his children in danger, and he needs to face up and be held accountable for that.
Yeah. Tony, I wholeheartedly agree. Yeah. Okay, well, this has been fascinating. So thanks so much for talking me through it.
No worries. It's great.
Please leave us a 5-star review on Apple and on Spotify. And you know what? The best thing that you could do, if you want to help, we'd love it if you'd follow the show. That would be incredible. We're also on TikTok. That's right. Our handle is @WhatItWasLikePodcast. That's all one word, What It Was Like Podcast, and it's the same on YouTube. Today's episode was produced by Rachel Tuffery. It was mixed by Jimmy Saunders, and he also did our theme music. Darcy Humphreys and Daniela Cantu are our interns. Our cover art is by Naomi Lee Beveridge, and this whole thing has been a Super Real production.
Cue the fireplace and your favorite fall movie. There's nothing better than a cozy evening at home with a glass of First Leaf wine. First Leaf is a personalized wine club that delivers right to your door. Sounds magical, right? They get to know your favorite tasting notes, which varietals you enjoy, and whether you prefer sweet or dry wines. So in every shipment, you get bottles tailored to your unique palate. Go to tryfirstleaf.com/fall to get your first 6 wines for just $44.95 with free shipping.
We all have dreams. Dream home renovations, dream vacations, or sending our kids to their dream colleges. But finding straightforward ways to turn those dreams into realistic goals, that's where things get tricky. Merrill understands that. That's why, with a dedicated Merrill advisor, you get a personalized plan and a clear path forward. And having the bull at your back helps your whole financial life move with you. So when your plans change, Merrill is with you every step of the way. Go to ml.com/bullish to learn more. Merrill, a Bank of America company. What would you like the power to do? Investing involves risk. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner & Smith Incorporated, registered broker-dealer, registered investment advisor, member SIPC.